Unaware the wife he divorced was about to seal a $10 billion deal, husband poured dirty water on her after believing his mother's lies. What she did next crushed them both. Mark poured dirty water on a woman he thought was nobody. She stood there, silent, dripping, in a designer suit he assumed she borrowed. "Get out of my house," he said. "You don't belong here anymore." His mother Eleanor nodded in approval. She never did. What Mark didn't know, the house was never his. Hannah had paid for it. What Mark didn't know, the wife he divorced wasn't the low-level office worker he thought she was. What Mark didn't know, that morning, Hannah had signed documents that would make her one of the most talked-about women in business. A $10 billion deal. 18 months of secret negotiations. A career she hid to protect his fragile pride. Eleanor knew Hannah was successful. That's exactly why she destroyed the marriage. She'd spent 3 years feeding Mark lies, hiring a mistress named Lena, staging photographs, whispering poison until Mark finally signed the divorce papers. Hannah had let them win. She'd stayed quiet. She'd walked away. But she'd also been collecting evidence. Every lie, every payment, every setup. And tomorrow, when her face appeared on every news channel, Mark would realize what he'd really lost. But by then, Hannah's revenge would already be in motion. What was she planning? The water was cold. It smelled like bleach and old floors and something sour Hannah couldn't name. It soaked through her blazer, the one she'd worn to the signing that morning, the one that cost more than Mark made in a month. She felt it drip down her neck, into her collar, spreading across her skin like shame she didn't deserve. Her hands trembled, but she didn't move. She just stood there on the porch, one small cardboard box at her feet, staring at the man she used to love. Mark's face was red, twisted with something that looked like victory. He was breathing hard, chest heaving, like he'd just won a fight. Behind him, Eleanor stood in the hallway with her arms crossed, chin lifted, eyes gleaming with satisfaction. She looked like a queen watching an execution. Hannah's throat burned, but she refused to cry. Not here, not in front of them. She'd cried enough during the divorce, alone in that tiny apartment she moved into 3 months ago. The one with thin walls and a leaking faucet, and a view of a brick wall. She'd cried when Mark refused to listen to her explanations. She'd cried when he handed her the divorce papers with Eleanor standing right beside him, smiling. She cried when she realized the man she married had chosen his mother over the truth. But she was done crying now. Mark dropped the bucket. It clattered against the concrete, loud and final. "I said get out," he repeated, voice colder this time. Hannah bent slowly, her wet clothes clinging to her skin, and picked up the box. Inside were a few books, some old photographs, a coffee mug her father gave her before he died. Small things, meaningless things. Everything that mattered was already gone. She straightened and met Mark's eyes one last time and saw nothing there she recognized. No kindness, no doubt, just anger and certainty, the kind Eleanor had been feeding him for years. "This is my house," Mark said, like he needed to convince himself. Hannah almost laughed, almost told him the truth right then, that she'd paid the down payment, covered the mortgage for 4 years while he struggled with his sales job, kept them afloat when his commissions dried up. But she didn't. She just turned and walked down the steps, her heels clicking against the wet concrete, her back straight even though everything inside her wanted to collapse. Eleanor's voice followed her. "Good riddance," she called out. "Women like you always think you're so much better than everyone else." Hannah kept walking. She reached the black Mercedes parked at the curb, the one Mark had never asked about, and opened the door. The driver, a man named Carl who worked for her company, glanced at her in the rearview mirror. His eyes widened when he saw her soaked clothes, her dripping hair, but he didn't ask. He was trained not to. "Where to, Miss Collins?" he asked quietly. Hannah set the box on the seat beside her and pulled out her phone. 12 missed calls, 7 from her attorney, Arthur. 3 from her publicist, 2 from the CEO of Biogenesis. She ignored them all and opened her messages instead. The most recent one was from Arthur, sent 10 minutes ago. Press conference confirmed for 9 a.m. tomorrow. Are you ready? Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Was she ready? Ready to stand in front of cameras and reporters and announce the biggest deal of her career? Ready to let the world see who she really was? Ready to watch Mark's face when he realized the woman he threw away was never small to begin with? She typed back 3 words. I'm ready now. Then she scrolled through her contacts and found another name. David Chen, her forensic accountant. The man who'd been quietly building a case for the last 6 months. She pressed call. He answered on the second ring. Hannah, he said, voice calm and professional. I saw the final documents came through. Congratulations. Thank you, she said, her voice steady, even though her hands were still shaking. But I need you to do something else for me. There was a pause. What do you need? Hannah looked out the window at the house. Mark was still standing on the porch, watching her. Eleanor had her hand on his shoulder, whispering something in his ear. I need you to file everything, Hannah said quietly. All of it. The bank transfers Eleanor made to Lena, the hotel records, the recordings, the mortgage documents showing I paid for the house, everything we've gathered. David sharpened his voice. When? Tonight. I want it submitted before the press conference tomorrow. Another pause, longer this time. Hannah, are you sure? Once we file, there's no going back. She watched Eleanor lean closer to Mark, watched him nod at whatever poison she was feeding him now, and felt something cold settle in her chest. Not anger, not even hurt anymore. Just clarity. I'm sure, she said. This story didn't end here. Stay tuned for the next episode.